Hey, what's up, family? I'm Brandon,
And I'm Manny.
and you're tuned into A Life Worth Loving.
We are really excited to be here today and talk to you about how these 2 months have been with us, being new parents and having a baby now. It's all so wild, and we just want to give you a 2-month update on how life has been for us. It's been like nothing in this world I've ever experienced before. We have this sweet little angel of a baby who requires a whole lot of love and a whole lot of attention, and it's been exhausting but exhilarating at the same time.
Yeah.
I'd say it's been special. It's been joy-filled.
It's hard to explain, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's every adjective that exists.
Yeah,
Like,
it's tiring,
Yeah.
but it's so rewarding. Like, whether we're, losing sleep or we're just extremely busy and our hands are tied with work, Malachi is the priority, and he brings so much joy into this household.
yeah, he's a
Just
sweet one.
from the time we go to bed to when we wake up in the morning, and the middle of the night cries when he's hungry.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
Yeah, it's been very sweet. I did have a rough journey with breastfeeding, and that was one of the things that I prayed for. Like, I was unsure whether or not I was going to be able to breastfeed, and once my milk came in after he was born, I just felt super blessed. I did not anticipate how much pain it was going to put me through, but through that season of being in pain and nursing within those first few weeks, the only thing that got me through the pain was gratitude. And it's interesting because in multiple seasons of our lives, we realized that when we are living in what we prayed for, it has the ability to turn into a burden.
Yeah.
So even just like being awake all night can turn into a burden if we don't practice gratitude. And if we don't realize that, like, we're waking up every 2 hours to love on this baby. Like, we get to love him.
Yeah.
And it's like that song, I get to love you.
There you go.
Like, we get to love him.
It's
And
an opportunity.
we don't have the option on when. We have to function in grace and function in love at all times, even when we're exhausted.
Yeah.
And it's the antidote to feeling overwhelmed, I think, is to just be grateful.
And with this, it's just like it's like we get to do good things. It may be inconvenient, but they're all good. And that's why we're so thankful. We have a healthy baby that we get to wake up and feed. We don't have to wake up and rush out to the hospital or the emergency room. It's literally to feed him because he's on a schedule, and it's to nourish him and make him strong. Our boy is growing so fast. It's a beautiful thing to just watch him grow. It's like, even we take joy in every single thing. Like, he's 2 months. On Monday, when you're watching this, he'll be 2 months exactly on that day. And just watching his eyebrows grow daily, it's like, wow, look at those eyebrows growing, and they look so good.
You guys want to see his eyebrows?
Show him.
He was asleep, but since he's hi, little squish. He also has so many names. He's like Little Squish. We call him Pop Pop. We call him Molly Poop.
Smush.
Malibu. Smishy Squishy.
Malibu.
Malibu. Malibu. But yeah, he's an angel. We love him so much. But I'll turn him back around so that I don't get distracted. But
Get it together, mommy.
But yeah, we'll do. Oh, he wants to look.
Yeah, you like it. Oh, you like the camera, huh?
So yeah, it's been a joy. But babe, I want to know highlights and lowlights for you over these past 2 months, because it's been nonstop for you since the pregnancy.
Yeah, but it's all rewarding just from those looks. It's like just these past few days, he can't keep his eyes off me. Every time I could be in my computer working, in my phone, texting, whatever. When I look up, he's looking at me.
Yeah, we'll be over here, like, hanging out.
Yeah, and
Brandon will be
working.
over there, and Malachi will find him in the room and just lock eyes with him. Like, he loves his papa.
I'm raising a young king, and my actions will reflect in his life.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure that I'm doing the right things at all times, because not only are people outside watching, but inside it's like you start from inside, and my son is watching me.
Yeah, your first ministry is your household.
Your first ministry, exactly. So the way I treat his mother is how he's gonna treat his mom, and the way I listen to his mother is the way he's gonna listen to his mom. So just being that example is challenging, but it's what I'm here for, honestly.
He's trying to fight me like
you fighting the air.
You and your daddy, huh? You're like, come here to that man.
Yeah, I love it.
So
sorry, I went off track, but
what's been the hardest part for you?
The hardest part is like dying to self when you're tired.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys still need me.
Yeah. And
I still have to show up. There's always something to do.
Mm-hmm.
For myself, for work, for you, the baby. So it can be challenging at times to really fight like flesh and be like, I want to do what I want to do today.
Mm-hmm.
But that gets us nowhere. Gets us nowhere. We always say, like, the husband, you have to treat your husband like, you have to treat your wife as if Christ loved the church.
Yeah.
And that's what I have to do in home. I have to love my, what's
Look
up?
at him. He's trying to get to you.
Come on. I have to love.
That was so cute.
I know. I have to love my family and tend to my family as Christ would tend to the church. And that's really what I try to do. And as difficult as it is sometimes, it's so easy. It's like, it's what I wake up to do now. Because honestly, I don't think I've ever really tried to be the best I could be at anything in life. And I love sports. I love, whatever. I love cooking, but I've never even work. I've never put the effort into anything like I do as when in my efforts of being a husband and a father.
Why do you think that is?
Because I think it's a true calling. Of course, I was not called to play sports. I was not called to do any of those activities. But a husband and a father is something that I was anointed to be. I think God specifically groomed me to be a role model.
Yeah.
And I fought that for so long. But now it's like that's all I want to be. Besides that, this is first.
Yeah. And
just to have him in my arms and know everything that we went through, that you went through, the trials and tribulations.
Was 100,000 trillion% worth it.
Yeah, everything was worth it. And it was all worth it to have these moments right here, to have this little man sitting on my lap, just wanting to see me all the time.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's interesting you say that you feel like being a father is a true calling, a father and a husband, because I can totally resonate with that for you. The way you have just stretched even more to become everything that, first you stretched yourself hard during the pregnancy to be everything that I needed you to be. And then you stretched yourself even more, as I thought that was done. I thought you were stretched to the max with how you looked after me during the pregnancy. But to see your heart still have room to continue growing and your patience still have room to continue expanding, it's just, I'm shocked every day by how active and how good of a father and just how present you are as a father, and still making time to be a husband. Because it's exhausting, if we're being honest. It's exhausting in this early stage of being a parent and being a spouse.
Yeah.
And making sure that you're prioritizing both. One, you can't make the excuse to be a bad wife because you're a good mom, and you can't make the excuse to be a bad dad because you're a good husband. So to have found that balance just so organically and so naturally, I think that like reinforces you having a calling to be a father and to be a wife. I mean, and to be a husband.
I'm a wife.
Because like even through these early moments of his life when we're up all night, so we still have to get up the next morning and cook for each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that's not us serving him in that moment, that's us serving each other. He can't eat the real food yet.
Yeah.
So I am grateful for moments that distinguishes like, okay, now this is for my husband versus this is for my baby.
Yeah.
Because you can get caught up just looking after your child because he's so luscious. You just want to give him all of your time and all of your attention.
And it's like, sorry to cut you off, babe, but like sometimes I'll take care of Malachi, and when it gets quiet, I'm like, oh, okay, we can relax now. You're like, but I'm like, oh, I got a wife too, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think just because you've done such a great job with your child, then that means just your partner's good, right?
Yeah. And we had a little tiff last week because we want to be transparent with you guys and not paint a perfect picture because that would be a lie. We had a tiff last week, and since bringing Malachi home, I think I've been overwhelmed twice.
Yeah.
The first one was because I received this nutrition guide and did not read it until we came home from the hospital, and I realized I had nothing to sustain me, and that just naturally sent me into a tailspin because I like to prepare. There is an important component when it came to that breakdown, and we haven't shared with you guys yet, but Brandon and I decided that we wanted to experience leaving the hospital and coming home and having the first few days with Malachi just as a family of 3, which meant that we had to break the news to our parents and that we had to also like sacrifice not having them so that we could prioritize establishing home. I think I was internalizing the fact that Brandon was so stretched during the pregnancy that when we got home, we both came home in diapers. Malachi had on diapers, I had diapers. I'm crying, Malachi's crying. We're both just losing it. And Brandon is just like trying to manage both. And that to me felt a little overwhelming for you. Like, not even for me. I felt like, are we putting him through too much? Like, is he going through too much? And then I would start like, I would not ask him for certain things that I really need because I didn't want to overextend him. And whenever I don't speak up about what it is that I'm bothered about, it ends up harvesting and then coming out in another way. So I just cried a whole lot during those first days home. But you were excellent to me. Like, you never made me feel like I was asking for too much, or like you couldn't handle it, or that you were annoyed, or that you wish we had help. I wish we had help, but not from the standpoint of you not being capable, from the standpoint of to give you a break. So that was rough. That was like the first couple of days of being home with Malachi. And what'd you say?
No, I was gonna say I think that's the perfect segue into why I went so hard for y'all, and like just the negative connotation that dads have, dads, husbands have when it's time to show up for the family. There's always this connotation that men don't know what's going on. We don't know how to all we know how to do is provide. We bring the money home, and we make the deposit, and the mama goes makes the grocery list and goes grocery shopping and cooks and do all of that. But honestly, that's what a husband, a man is supposed to do also. And I don't know, I did feel some doubt, not from you, but like, a lot of people just...
They were like, are you sure you don't need your mom, Remy? Are you sure he can cook for you and do all those things at the same time as working and all these things? And I didn't doubt him for a second. Yeah,
I just felt it was really... It was when the baby came. Like, honestly, I did, like, we did all of this work for 9-10 months. Like, we were going through it before the baby got here.
Yeah.
So we were like, we did well then. Like, I picked up where in every area that Remy needed me to. So I think that I proved myself enough to be able to do it when the baby came. And also, I wanted to be able to have the opportunity to say, hey, I need help now. I didn't want it to be like, okay, the baby's here. I know you're gonna need help. I kind of needed help in August. but no one. It was like when the baby came, everyone was excited to come, and I get it. And I appreciate, and we also appreciate the help. But I also felt that I can do it. I can show up for you, just like I did then.
Yeah, and I also think that strengthened our marriage so much because you had the opportunity to show up for me. And for, like, you didn't just show up for me, you showed up for yourself. You showed up for your son. And I think, like, if we would have had help from the very beginning, that would have robbed Brandon of having his rightful position as his father and my husband. If we just, like, usurp him and put someone else in his position, he can easily just trail off to just being the provider and not being as present and as hands-on. And I'm not sure if that had anything to do with it, but because it was just the three of us from the very beginning without help, it remained that way. Like, we had his mom come around Christmas. My parents came for just one day, but his mom stayed longer, and she was extremely helpful. But even after she left, I mean, even while she was here, Brandon was still Malachi's father. You know, it's not like he got a demotion exactly just because someone else is here. And I'm really grateful that you want and that you desire to show up so hard for your family, but I'm also grateful that you do it with a servant's heart, to where it's something that you look forward to, and that we have the opportunity to see what we look like in that season. Because it's a lot. Like, my postpartum midwife said, or postpartum doula said, day 3, when the milk comes in, the tears come in. I would have not wanted anyone else to see me through that, because it's so dramatic. I'm naturally on the scale of drama, and it was just, like, very intense. I was crying. Nothing was wrong. I was just crying and I couldn't explain it. But my husband is the only person who can tolerate me through that, because it can get overwhelming for anyone who wouldn't know what to say, or they can feel like this girl's doing the most. But he was able to, like, really just see me in that state and love on me. And I needed that from my husband. Like, I could have gotten that from my mom, but it meant so much coming from my husband. And to grow emotionally during a time like that it's almost like, you know how they say, like, trials bring you closer together, or
it was like a battle.
I get
what you're saying.
Like, if you're in the trenches, you become closer to the person because your need is so much greater.
You have to depend on them.
My need was so great, and he was that person. Of course, God too, but he was that person, and I think that brought us so much closer emotionally. That was the first thing that took me 20 minutes to explain.
No, that wasn't the tiff. This is the tiff.
Was last week. Okay, nursing has been painful on my back. Like, not only just my boobs, but
the joints.
My joints, my ankles, my neck, my shoulders, my back. And I swear, y'all, I said my back hurts 15 times in 1 hour for 24 hours straight to Brandon. And not once did he offer to give me a massage. Instead, he's like, oh, let's go to the spa and get you a massage. And I'm like, A, we're fasting, so I can't really do anything like that. It doesn't make sense. B, you have fully capable hands, but I never mentioned B, because sometimes I just like to see how things play out, and I don't like to tell Brandon what to do. And in this instance, I wanted to see how it was going to play out. If I just simply said my back hurts, in my mind, he was going to read my mind, because I feel like in some seasons of life, he has been able to just read my mind and know what it is that I need. But this season, this ain't that. So I said it over and over, and his response remained the same. And it kind of like caused me to feel dismissed. And I know that wasn't his intention, but I'm just being honest about my feelings. And it caused me to feel dismissed. It caused me to feel like I wasn't prioritized and that he didn't care about what I needed in that moment. So that caused a little bit of like irritation for me and a little bit of sadness. But I didn't have the time to work through my feelings. Hi, baby.
Malachi was upset too.
I didn't have the time to work through my feelings to actually tell him about it. So by the time it welled up, it just became a big deal. And what I had to learn through that was just because I have an expectation of something doesn't mean it's a reality for the other person. And my expectation for Brandon, we did not have the same version of reality. Hi, honey. He's as exhausted. Oh, I thought he was throwing up.
It's good.
Brandon is exhausted by the end of the day. He's doing a lot. I'm exhausted by the end of the day. A massage is the last thing he wanted to do. But from his perspective, he was offering a solution.
Yeah, I was offering a solution. And I get how you can feel dismissed. And I truly apologize about that. From, you know me, like I just like to show up I like to do it well when I do it. Right? And me giving you a massage, I'm telling you, it would have been the laziest massage ever.
You know what, babe? I think sometimes you underestimate the power of
just
your touch.
Just my touch. I
Just
get
your
it
touch.
now.
Like, it doesn't have to be like stepping on my back and flipping me and cracking me and like really going in like you are a dream masseuse. Just like the power of words of affirmation, the power of at the very end of a tantrum that Malachi's having to say, "Oh, baby, you did a really good job settling him and calming him down." Like the power of your words and the power of your touch goes so much further than you think. And I think if you would have known that or understood that in that moment, then you would have seen it through the perspective that I didn't need some like intense massage. I just needed you to touch me.
Yeah, I totally understand that now. But then I didn't get it. It wasn't ringing my bell.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely have to apologize for not being aware and seeing you the way you needed to be seen in those moments. So yeah, that was the tip, and the moral of the story with that is we have to communicate. We have to be transparent and
not expect the other to be a mind reader.
Yeah, and even if it sounds crazy, like I didn't want to say it, but I had to say, like, babe, honestly, I didn't have the energy to do that, like, you know. And that's when she said I didn't really need all of the energy, and I'm like, oh well, I thought I had to show up and, you know, really heal you from all this joint pain, and I said I can't do that. We're gonna go to the spa. So we get it now, and we're learning one another. This is a new season, new chapter,
new people.
Yeah, like legit new characters.
Yeah, we're getting to know each other as Brandon the father and as Remy the mother.
And Malachi our son.
So it's a brand new
That's me.
It's a brand new dynamic. And what worked in the last season does not work in this season. Yeah. Which is why what Brandon said, communication is so important. We have to stay getting to know each other, or else we'll become roommates. Or else we'll become just Malachi's parents, and we'll do really well at it, but then we'll lose our marriage in the meantime. As we prioritize each other and our marriage, we're creating a stable home for Malachi, and that essentially is putting him first. Okay, sorry about that, guys. It was
dinner time
to feed Malachi. He's a little hungry, and hopefully he'll go to sleep after this.
But babe, you asked me what was my highs and lows, but we didn't touch on like what were your highs and lows, and what you enjoy most, and what have you done your best in trying to delight in, even though it's not easy.
My high is surviving the overnight shift and doing it with joy. And I know that sounds crazy when I'm one who definitely prioritizes sleep, but when it's time to wake up in the middle of the night and soothe him and hold him and touch him, I'm excited to see him. I miss him when I'm sleeping and when he's sleeping. So that's something that I'm that is a high for me, that the exhaustion weighs less than the joy.
Yeah. Love
And that like every single time I don't think I have any more to give, God gives me just enough to do it again.
Yeah, I like that because honestly, there's certain nights where I'm like, I need a day off tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't think I got it in me tomorrow.
Don't think I got it.
And it's
yeah.
somehow we back at it. So how about your lows or your low moment?
Low moment was probably all the things I explained already.
Yeah.
Like feeling overwhelmed by not having the proper postpartum grocery list. Like the lack of preparation is something that annoys me because it's avoidable. Another low, it's a low for me whenever we disagree. Like whenever there's turmoil between the two of us, it's a low because it kind of just knocks everything out of place. Like when we're not in order, everything else just feels as if it's falling apart.
Yeah. I mean, fortunately, our lows don't last too long because we both don't like it.
Yeah.
And I think we both do our best to come together, even if we of course, sometimes it's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to make it right. I don't want to, apologize right away. But we understand, like, this is our marriage. We want it back. We want it back to how it was, yesterday or whatever it is. And we have a son.
Yeah.
So he's watching us.
Yeah.
And our Father is watching us. He gives us more when he can trust us. And we have to steward over our relationship before anything else can increase. We have to make it right within our union. Yeah. And that's what I vow to do. I vow to always come back to Remy, right or wrong. Because one, I don't like the feeling. I don't like to see Remy sad. My energy affects you no matter what. And I could, if I'm like not in the mood or something, whatever the case is, you feel that no matter what, and it doesn't make you feel good. So it's important for me to always check myself and make sure I have the right energy and the right posture. And I think that's why the fast was so good, because it allowed us to, it gave us space to pray and connect with God before we interacted with anyone.
Another very exciting component of these last 2 months was the fact that we had the opportunity to do the 21-day Daniel's fast. Having that time of like praying together and fasting together for the same things, for our marriage, for our family. There's just something so sweet about making the time to connect with God and to connect with each other. And this ended last week. It actually ended the day before my birthday. And I miss it a lot because since then we haven't been as intentional with the time that we've been spending with God together. I felt so much more connected during that, during the fast. And we didn't have any distractions. We fast television, we fast social media. So all we did was like watch sermons and pray, and something about that was so fulfilling. We've so quickly retreated. It's almost like getting out of rehab and then relapsing as soon as you get home and thinking that you're still going to keep the same values. And I absolutely I feel so convicted. Even just saying it out loud, I feel really convicted because the time exists. It's just that we made sure to make it then, and we're not making sure to make it now. So I want to do a better job at remaining whole spiritually and not allowing the blessing to become a burden as to why I'm not prioritizing spending togetherness with God.
Yeah, I do feel like we jump right back into normal life.
But one thing that came up for me as I was meditating or like walking or in the shower, I don't really know where I was, I can't remember. I was walking. This was during the fast, and it was just like so clear that God wanted us to, I told you about this, but he wants us to prioritize our marriage and relearning each other in this season just like we prioritize connecting with him through the season of fasting. I know a lot of the questions that we've been getting through Instagram is, how are you guys prioritizing each other in this season? We didn't have marriage for years, and then the baby came. So it's very important for us that we remain connected as a couple. So to answer your question is, we're trying. We're trying to see what that looks like. We're still making an active effort to prioritize each other and make sure that we feel seen and heard, and that we're not ignoring each other and allowing our feelings to run to the wayside. But it's a work in progress, and we have to remain intentional about staying connected. And I think that's why God placed it on my heart to prioritize each other and to prioritize activities together, to prioritize just talking at the end of the day instead of putting on a television show, but genuinely just connecting and just staying abreast on each other. I think that's why he placed it in my heart, because he knows how easy it is to get lost in the sauce with a beautiful baby and the excitement that comes from that, and to forget about each other.
Parenting is exhausting
and beautiful,
and marriage is exhausting but beautiful. So it's just a constant reminder to just tap into your whys, and as long as you have great whys, the house will come. You know, whatever you have to do, however it has to be done, it's all doable. And we just have to lead with love in every single thing, whether you're tired, excited, frustrated, overjoyed. Everything is love. You know, this little boy here has changed my life and Remy's life, and we're both trying to navigate marriage through the lens of parenthood, and it's difficult. Where we have a beautiful tribe in California, but at the end of the day, it's just us, right? It starts with us, and it's gonna end with us. And Remy's doing an excellent job as a mom. I love watching her as a mom. Just seeing her exhausted, nursing, exhausted. Even just getting the Malachi has like a little cart, what we call it, for his caddy, his nursing caddy, overnight caddy, and it's filled with spirit clothes, wipes, diapers, birth clothes, ointment, bottle, right? Her breast pump. She fills that thing up every single night, you know, and not like no matter what, because it helps her, and it helps her out at night, and it helps me out at night when it's my turn, or when I step in for Remy when Remy can't take care of the baby. So it's just her eagerness to be prepared for this child. You know, she's a complete different woman from the time that we met, before we started dating, and she's a different woman from the time that we started dating. And I do appreciate her so much, and I love watching her. And I think, as sometimes I'll speak for myself, I'll watch in silence, I'll observe in silence. I can walk in the house and it's clean, and I'll say to myself, oh wow, it smells wonderful in here, but it's important to say it out loud. So I'm working on communicating out loud, letting Remy know that I admire her willingness to be the best mom. And I always say, like, she's doing a wonderful job, and I can say it more often. I can say it to her how much I appreciate her, and I understand that it's not easy. So, baby, I'm proud of you. I love watching you as a mom, and I'm always here for you and the baby, and you know that. Mm-hmm. But I can't do the same things that I did in the last chapter. That's an old scene. That's an old season. You know, you can't, you have to be prepared for this season. It's complete different weather, you know? But it's great. It's great. We are tired, but like Remy said, God makes a way every single time. Every single time. It's like, you know, somebody made a joke in the office. It's like, oh, you look well rested, and I'm like, I'm exhausted, lady. But yeah, we've been doing this for 2 months. We've had a baby for 2 months in our beautiful home, and I couldn't be more delighted. He's a character. He has so much humor. He makes these little funny faces when it's time to take pictures. He makes these. I don't know where it comes from, honestly. He got these crazy smirks.
He's full of life.
You're full of life. Wonderful image. Wonderful display of Remy and I both. But we're just overall grateful. Honestly, like this is something that we couldn't have drawn up. And like Remy said, we've been praying and fasting since we've known one another together. I think Remy started before me, but since we've been together, we've been praying and fasting together. And these are things that we prayed and fast for. And sometimes it's difficult to actually live in those moments that you pray for, right? It's like, wow, God, we're really here, you know. And sometimes we may fall short because it's so challenging to step up in those big moments that we're actually living in. So it's just a constant reminder for us to tap in and pray with one another and see one another for who we are. Like it's so important to see Remy. You know, like I saw her in so many other seasons, and this is one of the most fragile seasons. This is where I need to be. I gotta keep showing up for her, and I gotta be.
I'm not crying.
Come here.
Mm-hmm.
It's emotional. It's emotional.
Yeah, it's emotional for a multitude of reasons, but just to be reminded of being in that season of not knowing whether or not we could get pregnant, to actually like being here holding him. And that's what I mean by like the gratitude is the antidote to all the other feelings. Like just being grateful has a special power of making everything else feel so small.
Yeah.
Just being grateful for a husband and for a family makes arguments seem so pointless and stupid. And those moments where I do feel extremely overwhelmed, for Brandon to say like, you are a good mom, like those words are piercing to my heart in a really good way. And it's as if I found a new lease on life with being a mom. Like there's nothing like it. It is the most joyous occasion in the world, and a job that I will gladly work overnights for. And in that same sentiment, I don't remember if I talked about you being a great dad already, because I know we talked about this yesterday, but I can't remember if I talked about it with you guys. But yeah, seeing Brandon step up to the plate has caused me to fall in love with him in a different way. He excelled at being Brandon the husband, but to see him as Brandon the father is just a really sweet movie that I get to watch. And to see him up overnight with me when he doesn't have to be, you know, like he can't nurse, and we still breastfeed the baby majority over bottle feeding, but he decides to wake up to put him back to sleep. Sometimes he'll sleep through the night and I'll just be giving him the side eye until he feels it and wakes up. But the majority of the time he gets up with me. and I'll nurse and then hand him over and Brendan to put him to sleep. And it's just this teamwork that we never even discussed in advance. It just happens so naturally, and the balance that exists just feels like we had a playbook for it and we didn't. Like, we felt underprepared going into this season, and I'm almost glad that we didn't have too many expectations because we got to do what felt right in that moment. It was just all so organic, and I absolutely prefer the way that the parenting played out for us organically with the balance than to have us have planned it out and be like, this is our schedule, this is how we're going to stick to it, this is how I need you to show up for me. Like, none of that happened. I wish I could say that we were that intentional, but we weren't.
Yeah, but you know what? We had this conversation before even going into the fast, because I feel like, you don't make the camera shake.
Oh, I'm sorry, I totally forgot that, sometimes my toes need to touch things.
It wasn't an earthquake. But we had that conversation about being prepared for the fast. Like, there's so many other times we fasted and we're like, oh, we're gonna go in praying for this. We want this type of breakthrough. We want this type of revelation. And I think like the day before the fast, we were like panicking.
Yeah.
Because we weren't prepared for the fast. And I'm like, why would we try to prepare for a revelation that God has for us? Like,
that He didn't give us yet.
He didn't give it to us. Like, it was like a light bulb. Like, Pastor Stephen Frederick would say, "Are you crazy?" Like, and it's like, yeah, like, are you crazy? We have to. What's the point of walking by sight? I mean, walking by faith, if you have to be prepared for it.
Yeah, and of course, there's some things you need to be prepared for, but these things.
Yeah, of course, fasted. We have to have our groceries, but like, what am I asking? I'm gonna have this thing that I want God to tell me. What if God don't want to tell me that? And
what if He waits to tell you until day 20 of the 21 days?
And that's what happened with me. And it was like the last week I've got I was really struggling in this fast. It was really difficult for me because I didn't know how to connect with God. I didn't know how to connect with Him the way I needed to. I was doing the same things that I was doing before and asking for the same things, ironically, when He already delivered those.
Yeah, it's almost as if you went into, oh, I've done this before, let me do it that way again, when we're in such different seasons. Yeah. So what you needed in that last season, you no longer need because He's already supplied that. You already have
Exactly.
So to go into this fast, asking for the same things, it's almost as if God is saying, do you not believe that I'm a God of more? Like, do you think that I can only deliver you in this area? Do you think that I'm only capable of the bare minimum that you asked for last year? You're already living in it. I've already delivered you from this, that, and the third. I've already put you in these rooms. I've already answered that prayer. It's time to elevate your asks.
Like, go bigger.
Yeah, elevate your asks and make them appropriate for this season.
Yeah, I love that. I learned a lot about myself in this fast. I learned that there is a such thing as ego, and sometimes that I learned that I still had some, and I still need to like release where I felt like I could take control of these things because God delivered, and it's like, okay, I got it from here, and it's like, no, I can't. I have to lean in like nonstop, being a husband, being a father, in my work. I need Him every single day. There's no way I can lead this family without God in my life. And I have to seek Him every day. So like what Remy said, being convicted, it's like, it really hit me hard too. I'm like, wow, okay, there is time to connect. And although we would prefer it being in the first thing in the morning, it doesn't have to be, but it should be. And I want to challenge myself for it to be, more than before I open up my eyes or touch my phone. Thank you, God, for waking me up and everything else. I want to be able to connect. I want to do some spiritual work in my heart and in my mind before I before I get out of bed or before I leave this house, or even just make breakfast. I think he deserves that, and I think I need it. Honestly,
yeah, it's not even for him; it's for us.
Yeah, I need it
because
we need it.
When we can prioritize God, it just softens our heart and sets the tone for everything else. The whole point of us saying all that was that we both need to do a better job at holding on to some of those principles that we were able to carve out time for, and do a better job because we know it's possible. The fast showed us that there is time. But yeah, these 2 months for us have been so incredible. Honestly, like, there's been a lot of words that can describe it, but there's nothing that ranks higher than this being the most joyous season that I've personally ever experienced in my life. There is no other feeling like motherhood. I got some great advice from one of my girlfriends, and she said the one thing that I would encourage you to do over anything else is completely unbusy yourself for at least the first few months, and I've been trying to live by that. I try to look at my family more than I look at my phone. And I just try to be as present as I can be in every area, even if it's just like just watching him sleep or playing with him. I try to just not be distracted because this time goes by so fast. And just been in the mornings in bed with him and Brandon, it's like the best part of my day. He's so energetic in the mornings, and he loves to play and just hang out and make funny faces and just be so sweet in the morning. So we love our morning time. One of our prayers that we had when we went into this marriage was to find joy in the mundane, and that's another thing that we're living out. Like, this could become very mundane, but it hasn't. I love every moment of it. So yeah, I just want to tell you that I really love it here. Like, I love this little boy in a way that I did not think was possible. And it reminds me of how much God loves us. Like, we don't have to do anything to earn his love. We can't do anything to make him love us more or to love us less. And although there's moments when Malachi smiles and I'm just really happy, I don't love him more because he's smiling than I loved him when he was having a tantrum or when he was sleeping. It's just like delighting in him constantly, and God delights in us constantly, and he gives us grace constantly. And it's just the personification of how he feels for us, and also the reverse of how we need to depend on him more. Malachi can't do anything on his own. That dependence, like, he knows that it's going to happen because he depends on us, and we're not going to leave him with a diaper for 3 days. So it reminds me that we need to depend on God more. Like, when the Bible says that we should have a childlike faith, I think that's a part of it. That childlike faith is because we couldn't do anything on our own. And I've always been taught that scripture in another light. I've always been taught have a childlike faith because you believe more when you're a child, but I've never seen that scripture as have a childlike faith because you depend more when you're a child. And the way Malachi needs us just absolutely convicts my heart, because sometimes we think that we can do things on our own and we can't.
There's nothing that we really have to worry about, you know, when we walk by faith and trust in God. He provides every single time, and when it doesn't work out, it's because most of the time it's because we actually try to do things on our own.
We don't actually worry about where his food is coming from. He worries. That's why he's screaming. And I think that's how it looks with us and God.
Actually.
It's like he's screaming and we're screaming. We're like, how do I hustle? How do I do this? How do I get that? How do I get this? And God is like, I have an endless supply. it's in me, seek me. The supply
Again,
is here.
right? Yeah.
And I think with us, it's the same thing. It's like, baby, there is a boob here. There's milk in it. If the milk runs out of my boob, I got some sort of for you in the freezer. I just pumped. I got you some in the fridge.
That's
like
good.
I have an endless supply of milk for you, my baby, my child.
I like that though better.
And he's screaming like, "Where's the milk? Where's the food? Who's gonna feed me?"
And that's what we're doing.
And that's what we're doing.
That's good, baby.
And I just think that it's so beautiful having a baby because it shows how the relationship with God is supposed to look. We thank you guys for joining us.
We love y'all. Peace.